in all this time that I'm going through dealing with fighting and my thoughts, creating my little strategy, I done took my little hits. I've developed I've developed my tolerance for pain. There's a point with all this where I stop fighting. There's a point where I stopped fighting, and there's two major events that got me to the point where I stopped fighting. The first one is the death of my friend Tony. Tony was this cool kid. He had muscular dystrophy and he used to ride in a wheelchair. In the wheelchair, it was an electric one where he could control with his fingers. This is fourth grade. So in the classroom setting, a kid could support Tony and kind of like push his chair a little bit, help him through doors, stuff like that. And the thing is, Tony was cool. He might have had this ailment, but Tony was cool as peppermint. He was very witty and funny. And it was like he was the coolest kid, and it sucked because he had this issue. So it's like it's rough whenever a person has a serious ailment or something like that, but then you feel something more whenever you're like, bruh, this guy is cool as hell and he got to deal with this is crazy. And so that's what, in my kid mind, that's what was going through it. And I was like, man, Tony is so flipping cool. So I would help Tony out anytime I could, and me and him just sit there, we be cracking jokes and just rocking. Like, he just was a cool kid. I remember there was this kid that transferred to our school named Gabriel. He was like a jerk kid, but he wasn't a bully. He was just a jerk kid, and he just always wanted to like press a person's buttons, but he wasn't no bully. It was just like the nature of him being a jerk. I remember a time where he wanted to press my buttons, but then we had this awning. I went to this school called Home Elementary, HOLM, and there was this awning that was created for the buses to pull up so that they could pull up in a row, and then the kids can step off the awning straight into the bus so that they don't have to go from the ground up. So it lines perfectly up with the stairs of the bus. So it's raised a bit. And that's the walkway. When you go around the corner, you walk all the way down there in front of all the classrooms, and then you go through this little walkway, and then you go up to the lunchroom. So that's how you get there. So we come out of Miss Messick's room, we come around that corner, and if it was raining, then you go around the other way. The other way had a covering. But if it's not, we go out that way. It's a straight shot. A whole bunch of kids can walk on. It's real easy. This day, Gabriel's helping Tony, but he's pushing Tony's wheelchair way too fast. Tony didn't ask the man to stop, but he don't stop. Gabriel pushes him, trips, and flips Tony's chair. And now Tony done shot out the wheelchair and then scraped himself all across the ground. Bro, that thing pissed me off so much. I came up like me and Gabriel, he already been pushing my buttons. Like, the kid already been pushing my buttons, so I already don't like him. I know I don't like him. And then he do this to Tony, and Tony didn't ask the boy to stop. Nobody supposed to push Tony that fast. You know what you're doing. And this boy, oh my God, I lost it. I came up on him, and I threw the first punch. I came up on him, and I just struck that boy straight in the middle of his chest. I was like, bro, I'm not even having that. And I just gave it to him. And the crazy thing is that shortly after that, not connected at all, nothing to do with Gabriel, nothing to do with that fall, Tony passed away. I'm in fourth grade, and I'm not prepared for something like this. And it's not like you get to go to somebody's funeral, or you drive yourself to somebody's funeral, you get closure or something. It's like your man is here today, and now your man is gone. I can't even think of how I was processing that as a kid completely, because there's some of that stuff, you try to recall your year as a fourth grader, but then you can't recall all the stuff. This is one of them things, I can't recall all of it, but it's just, I remember the void of that and the missing of your friend. But then, I don't know, you're a kid, you're resilient, you kind of get over stuff kind of quick, or you compartmentalize, or whatever the process is. I'm doing that. And so I'm moving along with life like kind of quickly. But I remember being really affected by that, and that being the first level thing that I was like, man, I think I lost the flavor for fighting. I don't really want to fight like that no more. Well, it was not just two things. There were a few more things that happened than just that. So here's some other factors that happened. That was the first one. Tony dying really affected me. That started to change my mind. That was the catalyst. Down my street one day, I saw a group of kids walking from Creighton Road towards Whirlybird. And I mean, the group of kids, this had to be like,
A few moments later.
this had to be like maybe 7 to 12 kids. And like, this is the point in time where their kids aren't really running around with guns too much yet. They're still, this is like knives and bats and sharp objects. So these kids are walking down my street. They got bats. I'm talking about they got like nails in them, like blunt things off in the bats. They got chains, they got knives, they got big sticks. Like they're going to do some damage somewhere. And I don't even know the gangs or the groups that was fighting back then or nothing like that. I just see this group walking. It's like a movie. Like I see somebody out the Warriors just walking by like, yeah, it's about to go down. I said, "Ooh, I don't want to be in none of that." I turned my bike around and rode right back down my street. Bro, I was like, "Heck no." So that's one of the things I saw happen. So it seemed like the climate was changing. I saw the climate change like right before my eyes. So when I'm seeing this, I'm like, I don't know if this gonna be a good idea to be messing around out here no more. This fighting stuff might be over with. So that was one of the factors. Another factor, weapons started getting into the school. Like I was saying, this is around the time when knives start to get into school. So a lot of kids are playing with butterfly knives. It's just kind of a thing that you expect to mess around with back then. And if you wanted to go get one, you go get one from the flea market. And so you could mess with those. And then they also had them. I think it's called I don't know if it's called a switchblade. I don't. It's a that knife where you press the button and then the blade pop out. Those was popular back then too. And then the kids that when you was a younger kid, you kind of had the one where you press the button and it pop out, but it's a little cone. So that was a popular. These types of knives was popular back then, and they started to get into the schools. I remember there was a issue on one of the buses at my middle school when I was in sixth grade. Some kid brought a knife on the school, and then they cut a kid and had like what I'm saying, piece of their finger or something like that hanging. So it started to get serious back then. Later down the line, guns come into play, but I stopped fighting a long time before that. Now, what really closed it off? I didn't fight none after this. After this, I didn't fight at all. This is in sixth grade. I'm going to band at this point. I played the saxophone. You know what I'm saying? I didn't found me a extracurricular activity that I like to do that I'm getting good at. You know what I'm saying? I'm doing my thing. You got to dress out for PE. I hated that, but this is also the time of pogs. So kids is keeping up with the little pogs and like you trading and you want to get the hologram ones or you got different ones that you like. You want to get slammers. And so different people will have different level slammers and all that stuff and they just look cool. And you don't think about like what these gonna be worth down the line or nothing like that. You just like what you like and you want to go trade and you want to be a part of the game. So that's what's going on during this time. Man, let me tell you, I was in the main hall of the school making my way towards the band room. Now, the band room at this school, I went to a school called Workman Middle School. Workman Middle School has this main walkway. The walkway goes around and it goes to this other section of the school and then it connects to the lunchroom back this way. But this section of the hallway that's pertinent for this story, the main section, it's a walkway that's got a covered awning. It goes down to where the band room is. The band room's on the right, and then past that is where the PE section happens. Kids will sit along this area. It's a basketball court back there, and then you go straight into the locker room right there. So there's this little area right there, and then it opens out into the basketball court. I look over right there in front of the band room, and it's this boy getting stomped out. And boy, when I tell you he getting stomped out, it's like about 5 or 6 people stomping him. And he got on like a little windbreaker jacket. Like the windbreaker jacket's like white, navy blue, brown, and a little bit of green with white piping. It got white piping. So you know what I'm saying? I'm seeing the boy get beat down, and I could see who this kid is. I've seen this kid at PE before. Man, they stomping this boy out, and I mean, they giving it to him. And they stomping him for a while. Ain't nobody stopping it or nothing. I saw this go on. I said, bruh, this is insane. And after that, I saw this, like, while this was happening, I saw this boy, he turned from white to red to like a little bit of purple. I said, God, oh, I said, ooh, that could be me one day. Yeah, it's about time to go ahead and hang these gloves up, baby. Oh, it's time to hang these gloves up. Fighting is over with. I am not about to go get jumped. I could fight one person. I can't keep all 5 people stomping me. I don't know nothing about that. I am not trained that way. I took me a little taekwondo for a little while, got me a couple of belts and everything. Well, I had my little situation going, you know what I'm saying? I was a little Kung Fu Jones. But bruh, I was like, oh, yeah, I'm gonna need a new hobby, baby. I'm gonna need a new hobby because fighting is over with.